Welcome to KetoMealsAndRecipes.com. Today I want to share with you my easy tiramisu parfait, which could also be called an Oreo Tiramisu parfait. This is a really special recipe for me, and it brings back a lot of fond memories. When I was a small child, my mom used to make tiramisu for me from time to time. However, my mother made it in the classic Italian way with ladyfingers. But today I'm going to show you how to use my Keto Oreo cookies as a base in this version, and that's in honor of my mom. I think that my mom would have liked this because she loved dark chocolate. So this is for my mother and all mothers and mothers-to-be on Mother's Day, and for anyone who wants a really delicious dessert anytime. I want to mention that this is a very rich and filling dessert, so you won't need a large serving as the one I'm showing in this video. I used this large cup because it was the only one I had to really demonstrate the layering, but it's actually 2 servings in this one mug. The macronutrient ratio for this easy tiramisu parfait is 8:1, with 8 grams of total carbs, 2.2 grams of dietary fiber, resulting in 5.8 grams of net carbs per generous serving. Before starting, I want to say that there are a couple steps to this recipe. The first will require you to make a batch of my Oreo cookies. A link to that video will be provided in the description below. When you're making these cookies, use method 3 as I describe in the video. I think you'll find that the easiest for making the Oreo cookies. And if you're wondering what size glass or cutout to use, I used a 3 1/4 to 4 centimeter, or you can use a 1.5 inch diameter cookie cutter. To make my cookies the same size, I usually use a champagne glass, but before you start pressing out the cookies, remember to grease the entire rim of the glass so that the cookie dough will pop out more easily. And then just follow the rest of the instructions on what to do to make perfect Keto Oreo cookies. After you have baked your Keto Oreo cookies, put them and leave them on your drying rack for at least overnight. You want the Oreo cookie to dry out a bit. The second step in making the easy keto tiramisu is to make the mascarpone cheese mixture. This step is very straightforward. In a mixing bowl, combine the cold mascarpone cheese and your sweetener, which you grind to confectionery powder. Whip these 2 ingredients together until you have a very creamy and lump-free smooth mixture. Then pour in the whipped cream and the vanilla and whip at medium-high speed, medium stiffness or stiff stage, but don't overbeat. Here's a little tip I'd like to share if you want to make your parfait look a little fancier. This is optional. Place a fancy tip inside your piping bag before you add the mascarpone cream to the piping bag. This will create a much more professional and fancier looking presentation, and it's not much extra work. And you will impress everyone with how professional and restaurant quality it looks. Now that you whipped up your mascarpone cream to the desired stiffness stage, just scoop the mascarpone cream and place it into your piping bag. And the very last step that you'll have to do is simply assemble the Oreo Tiramisu parfait. First, pipe a layer of mascarpone cream into the bottom of a tall serving glass. Next, dip an Oreo cookie into the warm, strong coffee and let the cookies soak for about 30 seconds. Then take them out of the coffee and layer 1 row or about 3 cookies on top of the mascarpone cream. Here's another little tip. When you're placing the sugar-free Oreo cookies into your serving glass or cup, place the cookies in such a way that the cookies touch the outside of your glass. Having your cookies touch the glass will make the layers more visible, and the presentation of the parfait layers will be better. Then just repeat the same steps with 3 or 4 more layers, alternating with mascarpone cream and a layer of your coffee-dipped Oreo cookies. To complete your presentation, the last layer should be a layer of the piped mascarpone cream. Depending on the size of your glass or the shape of your glass, pipe to the very top or near the top of the glass. And to make the presentation really special, and to complete my Oreo tiramisu, I also sprinkle a thin layer of cocoa powder on top. To do this, I use a mini fine mesh strainer to lightly dust the cocoa powder over the mascarpone cream. Although you can serve immediately after assembling the parfait, I would strongly recommend you refrigerate the Oreo tiramisu for about 4 to 6 hours, or if you have time, overnight. This refrigeration time will allow the mascarpone cream to infuse into the Oreo cookies and soften the cookies. And the flavor of the coffee and chocolate cookie will also flavor the mascarpone mousse. Allowing this time for the cookies to soften creates a really amazing texture and feels so good in your mouth. I really do hope you try this recipe. Enjoy. You may be wondering what to do with the extra Oreo cookie dough that you're going to have if you make a full batch of my Oreo cookies. And that's a really easy answer. First of all, you can freeze the Oreo dough for those emergency situations when you want to make some Oreos, or when you want to make a dessert that requires either the Oreo cookies or Oreo cookie crumbs, like if you get inspired and want to make my Oreo cookie cheesecake. Or you could also use the extra Oreo cookie crumbs and make my cookies and cream ice cream, which you will find the recipe in my free dessert cookbook. And you can find the links for all of these in the description below. If you like this video and want to show your support, please subscribe, like, leave a comment, and share the link with someone you know. Your show of support for my work is really greatly appreciated. And as always, the link for the written recipe for the easy tiramisu is provided in the description below. And everyone stay safe and healthy. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms.